All right, welcome to One on One with Latinx SA. I am RJ, going to be your host, and today we have writer, director, actor, producer Gabriel Carmona. We're going to be talking with Gabriel a little bit about how he got into the business, his passion for the business, and his latest project that he has. Welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you, thank you. And I prefer to be called Carmona.
Carmona. I do apologize about that. That is correct. That's his brand. So, Mr. Carmona or just
Just
Carmona?
Carmona.
Carmona it is. So, Carmona, tell us a little bit about your background on how you got into this industry, how long you've been into the industry, and your passion that you have for it. What types of films and things like that, what moves you to want to get Carmona's vision out there?
What got me started in the industry and not into the actual acting or whatever was in 2012. I was a talent agent saw me and said, "Hey, I like your look," or a casting agent said, "I like your look, and I think you'd be perfect for a film." The film was Machete
Yes.
with by Robert Rodriguez.
Yes.
So I did that, and it was a really small part, but I got to see firsthand the mechanics of what it is to make film, and it seemed pretty easy to me, but it wasn't. And from there, I went to some auditions. I always kind of was always auditioning for the same role of narco or un sicario, just always bad guys. And I kind of got tired of that. And one of the last auditions I went to, he told me, you just need to make your own stuff. You're talented. You have something. You just need to extenuate those talents that you have. So I started a film group called NAC Film Theory,
Okay.
and it was just me and another guy, kind of like now. The crew's not very big when we film, but it was just a group of other artists that would come together once a month, that would become part of the project for that particular month. And we learned a lot. We did every genre you could think of till we got to the end, and we decided to do a show, a spin-off of the character I played in Machete.
Wow.
Hmm.
So let me ask you, from the Latin and Hispanic culture, obviously, as you said, you kind of got tired of like just, do you, let me just put it this way, are certain characters just stereotyped and that's kind of all people look for them for?
I think they're pretty much all stereotyped.
Eh,
We're mostly play the bad guy, or a maid, or a boxer, and not that there's anything wrong with those things,
correct.
but there is more to us.
Yes.
We are just people,
Right.
and
Yeah, we have a bigger story to tell.
hmm
And that is also one of the reasons that, I kind of launched Latinx SA because, like, as I mentioned, I think it's important that we're able to tell our story no matter what it is, how relevant, and no matter what tier we're on. You know, right now in this life, I mean, we're judged based on tiers, and you have the upper tier, the lower tiers. But to me, everybody has a crucial role no matter what they do, and everyone is just as important. So when you started your company, and like you said, you started filming, making small movies,
short
small
films.
films, short films.
Hmm.
And how many do you have in the books right now, would you say?
Ooh, total short films maybe like 17, 18.
Wow.
A couple of documentaries, a couple of features. I've done a couple of series. I was just in one called Paul the Last Apostle,
Yes, yes.
where I played Silas. That was last year. I did a short film last year with Keanu Cordero, which I highly recommend you bring on your show.
That you just send me the people, and the door is always open.
Yeah, he's
That's
a
all we want to
director,
do.
under 30, phenomenal vision, and his filmmaking is, in my opinion, it's just top tier filmmaking because it's not really based on a culture. The culture that he's coming from is the culture of creating.
Right,
You know,
right.
you can tell in some instances que es mexicano, que es mexica. You can tell, but the majority is he just has this talent, man, that transcends um, any sort of ethnicity. And we all experience heartbreak, we all experience loss, joy. It's pretty much the same for everybody.
That's really awesome. So let's elaborate on that a little bit for people that are just kind of, we just go buy tickets and watch movies, but there's a lot behind the scenes, like you said, and obviously you looked at it and you told yourself, I could do this. This is easy. That's the mentality of knowing, of starting the love and the passion for something. Obviously, nothing's always easy. I mean, I could read the instructions on the back of a, Betty Crocker box of how to make a cake, but I mean, if I don't mix something right, or it's just you. But when you have that love and that passion for something, it comes out masterfully.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was talking about. I saw it, but I didn't see all those other little things that you needed. All I saw was, the guy sitting behind the camera type thing, and that seemed like, oh, I can do this. And it's probably, if not the most difficult thing that I've ever done.
But did you ever find it discouraging then?
Oh yeah,
Yes?
a few times.
So what kept you going?
People have asked me that, and I don't know if I have a good answer for that. Because when you're obsessed with something, and you're born with something, you don't realize that it's an obsession. You don't realize that maybe you should have stopped. You don't realize that maybe you're getting discouraged. It's something so foreign and outside of your being that you don't even know that it's difficult, because that's the only way you
But
know.
wouldn't that kind of relate or translate to the fact that, I mean, that's your calling? Because sometimes people ask, what is it that you meant to do, or what do you want to do? And people are like, I don't know, I haven't found my calling. And then a few years later you find them and they're doing something that they've had all these bumps and hurdles and challenges, and they're still doing it. And it's like, that was your calling. You just, because if it comes from inside, it's your calling. It's where you should be. Is that accurate?
Pretty much. I did it for a while. I did it for for a year and a half. And with the series, we got really close to being produced and picked up by Robert Rodriguez himself.
Wow.
He had a network called El Rey Network, and we had a meeting with them that talk about our series, and what was the intent behind it. And then when we got to Austin, things just kind of, we disbanded. We just didn't see eye to eye anymore. I took a 9-year break, which I didn't know it was a break. I thought, okay,
You were done.
that's as close as I got, pretty close. And I'm good. And then, like I said, like 9 years later, a friend of mine that was in the Woodlands in Houston, his name's Alvi Sabani, he reached out to me, and he showed me his real estate videos. And when you see someone que tiene el ojo, they just film things different.
Right.
They don't just show you the table. They almost like take you, and you are the table. And when you're suspended for those few moments, for me, I'm like, man, that's filmmaking. That's cinema. And even though to other people it might have just been a real estate video, I saw
Deeper into it.
this guy's making films. So he reached out to me and said, hey, I have all this equipment. I've got this camera. I want to do a film. Do you have anything? And I said, no, man, I don't really do that anymore. But I still had, I still have a lot left in the tank.
Right.
And then I came up with something, and the film is called Rite of Passage. And it's not a silent film, but there's no words.
Okay.
And I tend to work best that way. And I think that's because of my theater background. Okay. And so that film in particular kind of took off, won numerous awards, was very popular. And sometimes your work is popular in places that you just wouldn't even think, like, why?
Right.
I think it had a huge following in Denmark or something like that, so. But after that, I wrote another one, and then I've just kind of, I've been like that nonstop for the past couple of years now.
And so now you're working on a project tell us how you came about this project that you're working on. And when I met you, not too long ago, maybe about a month ago, it just the passion that you have for this project just translates, very, very well. You
Thank
see
you.
it in you. You see that this is, you I don't know you from the past, but you have sent me some clips and stuff, and I look at them and I'm like, wow, and I share them with my wife, other people. We've looked at them and like,
Thank you.
this is really good. This is really neat. But this latest project too, it's just like, do you feel like this is the one to put you on the map again to get you there? I know if by knowing your character, that's not the whole intent. You're not like, hey, this has got to be the Hollywood Oscar winning thing.
Hmm.
You put into your work based on what you want to translate for people to see with passion and corazón. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's a love letter to my gente.
Okay.
It's a love letter to
Very
my
well
raza.
said.
All the things that make raza raza. It's an appreciation and a deep gratitude that I have for my abuelos, my abuela, my friends, people that I've met throughout my life that have helped me on this journey. And I'm not really concerned with, like, you'd know me somewhat, so I'm not really concerned with that part of being put on the map. But what I do get more joy out of is when I do work with people that have been overlooked.
Correct.
Whether they were a background actor or they were replaced. I've met a lot of people like that, and those are those for me are the ingredients for creating something. Like when I met Little Joe, Little Joe from Little Joe y La Familia, I said, I want to give you your flowers now. Like, I have a story to tell, and let me honor you. You're an icon. You've done a lot for us. Let me return that favor.
Wow.
And when I pitched him the idea, he really took to it. And since then, it's kind of just written itself. People coming forward, wanting to participate, and the caliber of people that come forward that want to participate, and the things that they bring, it inspires me to just go bigger and bigger and dig deeper and deeper. Yesterday, we shot at the parade. I had 12 to 14 actors, and I told them to be here at this time. Everybody showed up. The camera guy showed up a little late, but he showed up.
Right.
He showed up to film people he had never met before. I had to tell Cody, which is my other DP, I had to tell him, like, this is who's in the movie, so when you get with Keanu, make sure. And I couldn't think of to do, after it was done, we know it was accomplished, I couldn't think of anything more chaotic than to, let's make a film with, like, let's get 12 people here and let's just add a little bit more chaos and let's do it during the parade. And all of those things they just mesh together.
Wow.
And there are some instances where, I do step back or I take a moment to myself. It's just an awe, a gratitude of the way things come together. But when you work from el corazón y el intento, la gente que vale, they know.
Right.
They
It translates and it draws people in.
mm-hmm.
That is why our culture, we're rich in history on longevity. You can find mom and pop restaurants that have been here for 30 years, mechanics and things like that, but because they love what they do it, as you said, from the heart, from the corazon, and it translates and it creates stability. Too many times in today, everything's done for marketing,
Mm-hmm.
marketing and glorification. And when you just do it from the heart, and I think the Latin community has so much of that to tell, to provide, and I think we want to keep it alive in the younger generation. And is that what you want to try to translate in your projects?
Well, it's obvious right now that Hollywood doesn't have a place for us unless we're narcos,
Right.
unless we're sicarios. If we're those things, they'll throw you all the money in the world. Best cameras, best lighting, the best craft service, everything. But as soon as you want to do something outside of that, there's not much support. So I'm not really interested in that because I don't believe in Hollywood. I believe in my people. I believe in my gente. All you have to do is go to the pulga.
Yes.
I mean, that's hustle right there. That's the belief of we don't need a Walmart. We've always done our own thing.
Right.
And I believe now is the best time for us to, I won't say really separate ourselves from that, but we don't need Hollywood. Hollywood needs us.
Right. So and so to define, if I can interject and try to help, then like you said, the word's not separate. This is the time for us to shine, to have people such as yourself, hopefully Latinx, other forms of, to focus on our community and to give them an outlet to shine, because when the light is shined on, as you put it, our people, our gente, you're going to see that we can hold our own. I mean, even in the economy right now, and that's why, like, you know, I get a little pushback on Latinx, being the Latinx brand, but Latinx it's sort of originated to not just say Chicano, Hispanic, or that. It's taking the umbrella of all, South American, all of the Latin descent, because the buying power in the United States, the Hispanic, the Latin community, we are very strong. We just need to learn to unite.
And see, because of those things, there is no reason that we can't blow up, that we can't support each other.
Yes.
And for me, the film has become, it's a movement. Even from its conception to the way that it's sort of like just writing itself. And yesterday, when we were there, my friend David Luna, he plays my bodyguard. He plays Tico. He's a martial artist out of Chicago. And I said, well, why do you want to be in film? He says, because I grew up watching Bruce Lee. I grew up watching Jackie Chan. But I never grew up watching me.
Correct.
He goes, I want to be the first. And because that right there alone for me, I was like, all right, you're in. Like, let's see. Because you're right. And how are we going to have that if no one gives us that opportunity? If no one gives us the chance to show that, hey, we do other things as well. And he's a master too, man. So that's a whole art.
Correct.
It's not just this fighting, it's almost everything but fighting. To evade fighting, which is a discipline in itself, man.
That was the key word I was going to use there, the discipline, as you put it.
And hearing his passion, that inspires me. And when I do work with other people, hearing where they're coming from, it inspires me more. It inspires me more. And when we were there yesterday, he said, hey, look. And I looked behind me, so we were all waiting. And a lot of these filmmakers have worked on bigger films and things like that, so our approach is a little different. Our approach is more what I call guerrilla style, independent, almost the same thing as using the parade as a background, but not as a prop, but as a background, because the movie very much deals, or the film very much deals with, those things that are still relevant today.
Correct.
And the idea, the vision is to educate during this whole process of King of the South.
Excellent. And that's what we're going to ask next. So again, if you could elaborate, the name of it again is?
The name of the film series is called King of the South.
And tell us a little bit about it in detail. You're filming it in several locations and stages, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about why you feel that that's important.
For me, it's important because that way I can cover the main cities in Texas. I'm not interested in California. Let's do Texas first. So when we go to Houston, we collaborate with that community of film, which in turn is people that do lights, sounds, caterers, things like that. And really those essentially are the ones that help you make the film. Correct. So going to Houston, you cast your actors there, you're introduced to that entire community. So you're Houston strong. And then we go to San Anto. And San Anto has shown this enormous amount of love and appreciation and the reception. So Now we have San Antonio covered. So then next we go to the Valley, and then we have the Valley covered, and then I think we have Dallas as well. And I just felt that that was important to make these stops that way. Everyone gets flowers.
Correct.
Everybody. And once you're doing that and they see that and they feel it, they're ready to go to war for you. The thing is you know, I'll go to war with you.
Correct.
You know, we all do this together. And that's kind of like the forefront of what we're doing.
So let me ask you this. Obviously filmmaking and stuff, but your passion and your drive for, you know, our culture and stuff, what is the difference? Are you wanting, I mean, finding a way to write a movie, a script that highlights that, and documentaries? I know that you have to have been approached saying, hey, would you consider doing a documentary on, you know, someone in the Hispanic culture that means something or this and that? Where is your mindset on towards documentaries and film?
I've worked on a few documentaries, and I'm actually working on one now. The one I'm working on now is when John F. Kennedy signed a bill, I think it was called Manpower. This was after the strikes in Delano, and where he wanted to give the men an opportunity to learn how to do other things and not be at the mercy of being a bracero.
Okay.
Or, you know, just picking grapes. He said, well, why don't we have programs where we teach other people how to weld and, you know, how to do machine work and stuff like that. I think that program was called Manpower, and they got a lot of families from South Texas and moved them more east, where they have some factories and
Right.
stuff. And my grandfather was part of that movement.
Wow.
You know, my grandmother is actually one that kind of planted the seed for King of the South.
Okay.
I took care of her for the last year of her life. So she would have these moments where she was firing off these memories, and one of them was a nightmare she had, and she goes, que lo mataron, lo mataron. And I said, who? And she says, el presidente.
Oh.
So she was reliving the John F. Kennedy episode, and to hear her take on what she thought of him, you know, was interesting, because I knew her my whole life. I never heard her talk about this guy. And then the more homework I did, the more I realized he was doing for Raza, and Bobby Kennedy as well. You know, they were doing for Raza. And my nephew, who's 12, he knows more about Biden and Trump. And I thought that was a real shame, because he doesn't know who Bobby Kennedy is or what he stood for,
right,
or what John F. Kennedy stood for. That's when I realized, like, okay, what can I do about it? I can create something that will educate us, you know. And the documentary itself that I'm working on is from the families that came. The documentary starts where they came from and where they're at now, like so many generations. I'm interested in documentary work. That's a lot of people that watch the trailer for King of the South, they're like, well, this is a documentary. When I pitched it to Little Joe, he said, no, this is all true. And I said, yeah, it's true. It's all true.
But it's in a format, as you said, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, because unfortunately, to get our message out, when you label something as a documentary, then it's just it's a small circle of eyes that are like, I'm interested in seeing it.
Exactly.
When you put something out that it's a movie, but you know how to put, as you mentioned, you have the passion, the eye, and the look, and you know how to kind of manipulate it, and that's not a good word to use, but you know what I mean, like get it to where you're intertwining. I'm saying King of the South, I'm saying, wow, I'm gonna go watch a film, a series, but in so I'm watching a documentary. You know, 75% of it is documentary, the other is cinematic, but you got my attention, you got me watching it,
and that's what we want.
That's your goal, to get in there like that. And so on the King of the South, when do you plan to have it complete? When can people just go and start to see it? Where are you at this stage in that part of the movie?
At this stage, because things are moving so fast, I don't know. I don't know. Someone asked me, you know, what about Netflix? And I said, no. They said, what? No, no. I said, I just, like I said, this is it's part of a movement. And I believe in my gente. I believe as this thing progresses, I say within the year, it should be done. But as this thing progresses, who knows where we'll be in a year? We'll have our own network. We'll have our own things so that we don't have to go through those outside avenues where we can just directly link to the people. And if the people want to watch it, they click on it, then you see the support that you have.
Wow.
But there's so many of us that there's no reason why it can't be. It can't be that way. I think a lot of people have their eyes on, you know, Hollywood needs to recognize us and this and that. Well, that's like there's a line in King of the South. He says, you know, we're begging for crumbs that fall from a table that we haven't been invited to.
Right.
And there's enough of us now where we just build our own table.
As they say, you know, it's always kind of been a saying, but the power is in the people. And in your case, like you say, you know, trying to make something for Hollywood to recognize, to kind of get an award. But when you look at Hollywood, it's this circle of, just for numbers' sakes, it's a circle of maybe, you know, 100,000 people. But the Hispanic culture, the Hispanic raza, we're in the millions. And for you, you know, having 1 million people watch it, support it, and praise it, that's a lot more than any little statue can mean or bring.
For sure.
Is that
for sure?
And if we had more people, and not just in your industry, but in other industries where we have the Hispanic or Latinos have overcome lawyers and doctors and judges, a lot of times we still kind of get caught up in, okay, we made it here, now we're running with that circle. And we need to try to come back down. And sometimes we try to be politically correct and say, oh, you know, I'm going to bring my people up, or, you know, I did this. But those are just words. It's not always done in action.
No, and the success of this film so far is based on that, of giving people the opportunity. And once you give them that opportunity, man, the sky's the limit, because you like wake up something inside of them. You know, like you're gonna have the frame. The scene is you. You know, and it can be someone that's never had dialogue or has always just kind of had a few words, but now it's you. Let's see what you got. And man, they answer the call. They answer the call. And for me, that is like one of the most rewarding things, man, to see an actor, you know, nail his scene, or to see my friend Cody get this shot, and we watch the footage and we pause and we just look at this one shot.
You're in awe of,
yeah,
like,
that
wow.
Maybe nobody else will stop and see, but another cinematographer would definitely, because we do.
Right.
Anytime we see something, or he'll send me something, dude, did you see this shot? And the shot could last for like a split second, but
it's the magnitude of that moment.
Yes, because there's so much behind the person that created that. And when you have that deep appreciation for other art, it's better. Like if I send a scene to someone that scores, they'll ask me, well, what do you want to hear? And I go, well, man, if I knew that, I'd have wrote it myself.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you feel? I trust you, because that's what you do. I
Correct.
do this, you do that.
Correct.
And I trust what you do. And if that's what moves you, if that's what comes out of you, then that's what it is.
So your whole team that you facilitate and associate with, you want them all giving from inside. You want them to bring out the best of what they have to offer, not worry about, again, being politically correct, cinema correct. You know, it's because if it comes from here, it's going to translate that way.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of King of the South was created too, man, because of those frustrations of seeing, you know, the same movies, or if we did do a film, it was the same thing. And I'm like, well, you know, I can complain about it or I can do something about it. And I think that once people see that you're actually doing something about it, your intent, they'll join.
And as you mentioned, then your vision again doesn't become just your vision. It becomes the vision of many, and it gets put in the category of it's a movement. And movements are very important and very strong, and we got to make sure that we don't let them fade or die away. And they can be very small movement. That's what people don't understand. They think that movements have to be on a grande stage. You know, it can be very small. You know, you can say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna give you you know, I'm gonna give you $1 to go buy $1 burger. If you give me 100 pennies, it's still $1. When I get there and put it out, it's still $1. And you know, and so if we just learn that mindset that no matter what small that you know part you might call it small, but it's important, it's very vital, and you try to find that in people. Is that correct?
And they kind of find it me too. You like the movie, you build it and they will come. It's like you put out this signal and it just starts to gets bigger and bigger. The first shot of King of the South, I had a guy from Dallas that was going to come. He was going to ride his motorcycle, and we wanted to show this stretch of road in East Texas. It's in Crockett. It's this beautiful stretch of road. It just goes on, and you have this line of trees, pine trees, and it was the fall, or it was autumn, so you got all this orange and yellow and green. It was como una chulada, man. Just something beautiful. And so I had this guy coming from Dallas on his motorcycle that we were gonna film his character coming into town. Well, that morning he called me and said he wasn't gonna be able to make it. And we were already there waiting.
Right.
You know, and I just stared at the road, I stared at Cody, and I was like, okay, why did I even write this? What's this scene about? It's to see the trees,
the scenery, right.
to see, you know, to give props to this beautiful thing.
And an important part is in Texas.
Yes.
You know, you would have people always trying to go. The way you pictured that scene to me, I see people right away. We got to go to New England. We got to go east. We got to go to find that, and we have those riches in our own backyard.
Oh, it's like one of the most beautiful stretches in Texas, as far as like the foliage. And I'd seen that growing up so many times, and I said, man, I'm gonna put this in a movie one day. I'm gonna put this in a film. And then we got to that day, and the guy calls, and I said, you know what? Let's just film it anyway. And I'm just gonna walk. So my character walks into town. Why is he walking? I don't know, but let's just do it. And we filmed that, and it was just me, Cody, and I think my nephew was with us, if I'm not sure. But it's usually the three of us. And once we established that, and we looked at it, I'm like, okay, then this is the first scene. This is this character coming home. Where has he been? You know.
Now let me ask you this. That's very interesting. So, I mean, for what you're wanting to do and the passion and everything and representing us, if you can go back and shoot a parallel of that, of the gentleman coming in on the motorcycle and that, and then put them side by side, you walking in or you riding in, it's just me. I'm just a spectator. I've watched movies all my life, and you know, like Monday morning quarterbacks, we all think we're directors and stuff. I just see more value to our culture and to the movie, the walking scene.
Oh yeah.
I see it. I think you hit gold without knowing you hit gold until after. I mean, just me trying to picture both scenes. I think, man, and it's just, is that, am I?
Yeah, no, you because it opened the door to all these other things, and the most important thing is that we shot the first frame. Once you shoot the first frame, you're committed.
Right.
You're committed, whether you know it or not. You're in. It's like you sign the deal, because now it's something real. So, but then it was just me. I was the only character in that.
Right.
And then I brought in my cousin who has a little boy, and in the scene he plays me as a little boy. I play Little Joe as my father. So then that was 2 people. And we got that out of the way. And then we brought in Little Joe, and then it was me and Little Joe, you know. So, but it all came from that first frame.
Right.
And then we get to Saturday, there's 12, 13, 14 people. All these characters you made up, and now here they are, just waiting. Yeah. And that's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. And then to actually start to work with some of the people that I grew up watching. I just worked with Vic Trevino, and he was an American Me. He was on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Wow.
You know, and now he's in the back seat, and we're doing a scene in this limo that brother Pete Torres let us
Provides
use
the
and
limo,
stuff,
yes.
right? And it was just surreal.
That is
It
awesome.
was, but the cool part about that is that Vic and his son in the film, they have a scene together, and they're both strong actors. So I was like, I can't just let them both be here and not, even though I had not written anything for them.
Correct.
I had told them enough of the story throughout the day that had their minds
That their
spinning.
creativity was able to.
So I said, hey Vic, just jump in, let's do an improv. And me, Cody, and Keanu's the DP when I'm here in San Anto, Cordero, we were in the limousine too, and when you watch a master work, it's just another level. And the three of us, we were spectators. We forgot that we were part of the crew. We forgot to say cut. Forgot to turn the camera off. You know, it was so engrossing. And for me, I felt like a kid again. You know, I was like, man, I love this stuff, man. Like this right here, this energy that they're bringing. You know, because he was working with his voice, his movements, his body, his hands. Like everything was playing, and he was just cultivating this emotion. And the kid next to him was, you know, he was receptive to that, and he's got his own magic, you know. And that's the other thing is that we sometimes tend to forget when you put those things together, the magic happens. And that's the other ingredient that, you know, for me, trumps money.
Correct.
Trumps currency, or like you don't have a permit, you don't have this, but look at this, man. Look at this chulada.
Because it can't be found all the time. You have
No.
casting directors that are trying, and this person, you're looking at this. But when it comes natural, like you said, when it just gels together, you can't just find things on paper sometimes.
No, and the kid that's cast in it, his name is Matthew Cabanos. He's from the Valley. Um, he's 17, 18, but he's on two shows. He's on Walker, Texas Ranger. He's on Landman. You know, two shows that are about to be in syndication. Walker just started. He's doing all these short films. He got involved in this. You know, as a kid, I really needed somebody like that.
Right.
Because I was that. I was him. And I remember saying this to him last night. I said, man, if I'd have had somebody like me when I was your age. But, you know, what he told me, he goes, well, you're that now. You're that now, so I appreciate you. You know, and it's beautiful to stick around long enough to see the thing come full circle.
Correct.
Because
Wow.
that's why I wanted to work with him. And we had a scene together. And I told his mom, I said, I'm not gonna let this kid get out of here without, like, I want to do something with him, man. Like, let's dance.
That's memorable. You're creating, not only you're creating something for us and to see out there, but all of it is memories. You're creating a memory that is going to last a lifetime. And that, you know, and I think we get, a lot of people get, again, lost in the glory of what filmmaking can be and not understanding the true, like you said, behind it is, you know, like you said, you know, you have the American me's, you have some of these cultural that try to bring the light on us, sometimes in a negative way, you know, in jail or different scenes like that. But I mean, at least there's still something out there. But some of them have parts, clips, or the movie themselves stay with us generation to generation and gets passed down. And that's kind of here too, like you said, and especially for, as you said, this young kid, because you know, to see that kind of talent and it's still there, because sometimes it feels like we're losing them. You have the gaming world, you have, you know, all that other stuff that's going out there now, and it's like the lost art of doing this and having naturalness, and that's important for you, correct?
Very, very. Those are the things that inspire me.
And do you see yourself, you know, hopefully, you know, people that see this and they go and they really get behind what Carmona really represents in your filmmaking, documentaries and stuff. Do you see yourself wanting to be that platform for the younger generation to have something to come in and not have to be stereotyped?
Oh yeah, no, that's it. I'm not interested in doing anything else but producing the work that's in me, and that work entails, giving other people that opportunity.
Now, do you ever go places like, you're in San Antonio, you're somewhere, Cody, that y'all decide to go sit down and eat, and you're eating somewhere, and, you just, a server or somewhere comes to you, and you just see something in them, and you tell them,
Oh yeah.
have you ever, like, hey, you know what, have you ever considered being in a movie? I'm doing a movie, and I have a part for, you know what I mean, that you recognize,
Mhm.
especially in our culture. Do you ever, does that,
All the time.
does it?
All the time. And I actually prefer working. Well, I like working with both, but when you work with people like that, then they'll say, no, no, like, I might mess it up. And, I don't know what I'm doing. And I go, well, that's even better. Because, I mean, how can you screw up? Well, we don't know that. But,
Well, in the business world, I used to manage and run restaurants and businesses, and uh, it's kind of the similar way. We would say that sometimes they'd be like, well, hire this person, they have all this experience, and you have this other person walk in, but you see the drive in them, they don't have the experience. They're the ones that thrive and succeed more because this other person's going to bring all these bad habits from these other places, and you're going to be dealing with, well, we used to do it like this, or we did it like where you have someone that comes in, they're just all ears. They're like a sponge. They you can tell them something, and that's what they're going to give you 100% of that. And is that kind of similar to
yes,
where you're at, or what you look for?
very much, very much.
Wow, that's neat. Well, Carmona, I really appreciate it. Just so you'll know, one-on-one with Latinx, you're still doing what you set out to do because you are my first one-on-one
Oh,
with
sweet.
Latinx. I've reached out to a lot of people. We do have some people lined up now, but you're still doing it. You're still helping, a Hispanic that has, visions to try to help our people. And you've come in here and you're, one-on-one with Latinx. You're our very first one, and you've taught me a lot just in this alone. So I really want to say thank you. But can you tell the people where they can find your trailer? So they can just keep an eye and really just watch what you're going to do because I have seen it. I know the people you're working with, some of them here and there, and like I said, we just kind of met, but I see the magic in it. I see your vision, and I just want as many people as possible to get on that to just watch it. Because nothing is going to beat the numbers. No matter what, no accolades or nothing else is going to speak more volumes than how many people are watching this and do watch it and share it. So if you can just let them know how they can just follow you until this project's finished.
You can find me on Facebook, Gabriel Carmona. You can also find me on Instagram at Carmona Gemini. That's CarmonaGemini. You can also find me at Radbear TV. That's RADBAR TV. And if you need any help with the project, if there's anything that I can do, find me. Find me.
That's awesome. And again, I know you're very busy. You were in town shooting. You're getting ready to go back. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you.
And anything that you want to send to Latinx SA, hey, you want to, I got this person. Can we profile them in the magazine or whatever else? I mean, like I said, I'm just getting started too. But like you, I believe in guerrilla marketing and stuff. Hey, if I got to print some postcards and pass them out for you with this and that, I mean, just let us know. Let me know how I can help you too.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, Carmona.